Let's do it.
Hey everybody, you're watching the Mike Nelson Show. I want to thank everybody who's already liked and subscribed to the channel. It's greatly appreciated around the world. I know a lot of you have been following my interviews every week, so I want to thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe. Today I got a very special guest. I got Aviv Hadari. How you doing today, Aviv? Of
How's it going, man?
course, he's
Doing
from the
well.
band Consciously Dying, local death metal band here in LA. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So when did the band form? I was looking online 2017. Can you give me more of a backstory on when Consciously Dying formed?
Well, yeah, Consciously Dying technically formed in 2017. I moved to LA in 2015. So you could say I'm originally from Israel, but originally, I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I moved to Israel when I was a kid. And then I started doing music around 13. So living in Israel as an American kid, I had to find my way, and metal is always a place that accepts everyone, right? And we all have our baggage, and it was a great outlet for me. So I started a band back home in Israel called Magor. It was kind of like a melodic black metal band, and it was great. We had an EP, two singles out, an album. Things were going well, and eventually trying to seek out a better education, like a formal education in music, wanting to go to Musicians Institute here in LA. Now my now wife and I moved here to LA. We're both American, we both have the same kind of story. So I moved here, and one of the drummers from a band in Israel called Winter Horde, he noticed that I moved here, and he just moved here. And I'd see him backstage at shows, and we kind of formed the band together. We started it here. And yeah, things just started rolling. We put our first EP out in 2018, Delusions, which had three songs on it. And then after Delusions, we put out COVID-19, which was one single, and then another single called We All Die, which was again just one other song. And we just recently put out our album Bereavement, A Guide to Loss and Grief, which is a full length. It was originally supposed to be released through Metal Assault Records, and that deal kind of fell through, so we released it independently. And since then, we've gone through a lot of lineup changes. Honestly, the drummer that I've worked with, the other founding member, he's not in our lineup anymore. But good things are happening all the time. I mean, we managed to get a positive review on Metal Hammer Greece, and like to me as a metalhead, being on Metal Hammer is, I mean, I know it's in Greek, but just being on Metal Hammer was a big freaking deal. Thanks to our former manager Pam Parks, she's great. Um, but yeah, as of now, I'm working on the second album. I'm working with pretty much a new lineup, and it's going to a good place. I mean, we're still working with the same producer that we used to work with, Adair Daufenbach, and he's doing great things. He's doing really big things. He recorded drums for the last Megadeth album. He works closely with Dirk, the drummer for Megadeth, and Kiko, which also I had the pleasure of meeting him and jamming with him and learning from him at MI. But yeah, hopefully the next album will come out this 2023, in the next year technically, right? We have a few weeks, but yeah, till that happens and till we record the next album, we're gonna be focusing on honestly touring. And yeah, I've been talking to a few booking companies. We'll see where it goes, but we're open to everything and anything at this point.
Now let's go back to what you were talking about, with your band in Israel. How was the music scene out there? Did you guys play all over Europe? And how was that, playing in Israel?
Oh, dude, it was amazing. I started that band in 2002.
Wow, 20 years ago.
Yeah, man, freaking 20 years ago.
Wow.
And I don't know. I think that once we kind of like, it was hard breaking through, especially as a black metal band.
Yeah.
You know, I guess things have changed, and Consciously Dying is more of a black and death metal band. It's kind of like a combination of people ask what we sound like, and I'll tell them we sound a little bit like Opeth, Death and Dissection had a baby. That's what we sound like. It does
Yeah.
to get there as fast as possible. And that band like Magork sounded like more like a all of us were really Dimo Borgir Emperor inspired still, that had that kind of thing. We had keyboards. So it was a journey kind of getting recognition from the scene, breaking through, and then eventually developing our own audience, you know. In the 90s, most of the people that in Israel that would listen to this kind of music, they were Russian. We had a lot of Russian Jews coming to Israel, so there were Russian people everywhere, and they were the only kind of people that, you know, that the young Russians were the only kind of people that liked extreme metal, death metal, black metal, that kind of stuff, right? Definitely power metal. Um, but yeah, that was kind of like the people that would come to shows in the 90s, and I'm the darkest guy in the fucking room, 100%. You know, but that aside, you know, we put out a single in 2009, so you know, things were, I mean, we were way younger. Things took time, and we didn't really know what we wanted, and you know, back and forth, lineup changes all the time. That happens to every band, right? It's happening now. It's something that never ends. Um, so we put out our first EP in 2009, and I remember none of the other bands would want to play with us. Like, you know, most of the death metal bands, and there weren't a lot of black metal bands around, you know. And even if they weren't like into the whole networking or whatever. They would just find an abandoned warehouse or some abandoned house and just fucking play a show there, you know. And so like from 2002 to 2009, we put out our single. That was just us getting some music out there recorded. From 2002 to 2014, where we had our full album come out, it was a whole freaking journey of developing an audience. So the Israeli kids basically came around, I guess, 2000, like 8 or 9, 2010. Like you would see kids that are, you know, they're they're kind of
That's
like
all right.
this. They're hybrids, you know. They're not like they're second generation Israeli kids. They're obviously there to see you. They show up bring your shirts. Like I won't even forget the first time we had a show, and I'm seeing these metal kids, right? Obviously they're there for the show, but there are other bands playing, and you know they're seeing us, and I'm looking at their shirts and like, shit, that's my fucking t-shirt. Like, yeah, they bought that at another show, or they had a friend that got it for them, or whatever, whoever got it for them, right? And it's that moment where you're like, because you don't think about yourself that way. But then I remember one of these kids, he's like, we're lugging gear outside the van into the club. And then one of them goes, there he is. And I'm like, oh shit, he means me. There he is means me. Like he's recognizing me from the band, because they're obviously they're here to see the band, you know. So it was a really long journey getting from no one wanting to book us or play with us or have us there, to actually not only being booked by other bands or other promoters, but then having our own audience that are clearly there to see us. And then we put out the album in 2014. We played Wacken that year also, for the Wacken Metal Battle. It was super difficult. I mean, there was a war going on with Lebanon. You know, my guitarist and my bass player were officers, high-ranking officers in the military, so they got drafted. You know, we had to get them. They got special permission, you know, to leave, to go to Wacken and, you know, play and represent their country. Now, these things are highly political, right? So, you know, you represent your country. If your country isn't doing so good, you're going to get looks politically. And it's all about the publicity. You know, the truth is out there, but no one gives a shit about the truth at the end of the day, right? Politics is politics. They don't give a shit about us, any country. And I could say the same for America. It's the same way, you know, like you have this person that's sitting up top and he's supposed to represent millions. That's fucking ridiculous. You know, it's like, no, Trump doesn't represent me. Obama doesn't represent me. Biden doesn't represent, none of them represent me. But when I go to a certain place and I represent my country because I'm the American or the Israeli, right? Because I'm both. I'm dual citizen, right? Let's just say I go there and like, you know, they're gonna be seeing whoever the leader's face and the country's face and what they know about the country through the media, you know. So that made it difficult, but it was a great experience. And I mean, Wacken is the biggest metal festival on the freaking planet. Like I would never forget that. Um, Ironically enough, we signed up here to compete this year.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It took a lot out of me. I could tell you, as the writer and the band leader and the guy that's like basically pushing the band. It took a lot out of me because last time we competed, COVID hit.
Wow. That was
And
like
we got to
2 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We got to the semifinals, man. You
Wow.
know, I had a great lineup then. The music was awesome. The band was awesome. Everything was fucking fire. And then COVID hit and it got canceled. I mean, the world got canceled. Everything got canceled. Right. So I did the only thing I could do, which was write. So I wrote. I wrote most songs. I wrote the album. We put out the album. The bereavement is a product of it's a COVID baby. That album is a COVID baby. Um, and that's it. But really kind of I understand that going through those same kinds of levels here is different, but it's the same. It's different in a way where Israel's a pond, right? So the only way you're touring in Israel is you leave. You go and tour Europe, which I haven't had the pleasure of doing, right? I mean, there were a few shows, but not an actual tour. But then getting the respect, the recognition, the admiration of your peers, honestly, it's just the recognition, people wanting to play with you, people digging your music. Um, Getting that took me many years, 12 years to get there in that pond. And now I'm in an ocean. And when I moved here, like no one knows who the fuck I am. No one knows Aviv from Magor because I'm not Aviv from Magor. I'm Aviv from here. I didn't even have a band, right? And then I started consciously dying, and it's getting there. I mean, the more shows you play, the more people see you, the more people recognize you, the more they're aware of your music, and we have a small fan base, but it's growing, and I could see it growing. I live next to the Wiltern here. I went to Cannibal Corpse. I see people coming up to me. They've been to other shows. They've listened to my music. That like, it mattered to them, and that's what I care about. Like if someone really listens to the music and it resonated with them, it touched them in a certain way. It made something. It made a difference to them. I don't care if there's like 10 people or 50 people or 1,000 people in the audience, as long as they're digging it. If it speaks to them, that's great. And that's what matters to me. But it's like in Israel, I was in friggin', kindergarten, then first grade, high school, university, and then you're a fucking master, you're a professor, you rule the fucking school. And I'm starting all over here, right? But with the knowledge that I have, that I had back then, and more of an ability, you could do way more in the US. I've been merching like crazy. It's a bunch of pillows and, you know, vinyl and CDs and all kinds of stuff. Like everything freaking works. Um, so it's nice to kind of, you know that there's where to go. And I'll take it as far as it goes, you know. But yeah, hopefully it goes to a good place.
That's the hope. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Who inspired you to play music? Who inspired you to pick up your guitar?
Who inspired me to play music and pick up a guitar? Um, Even before I was a metalhead, my dad would play a lot of vinyl at home. He's a big record guy. So, we would hear Led Zeppelin, we would hear Pink Floyd, we would hear Black Sabbath, Jimi Hendrix. Like that's home for me. You know what I mean? And my mom being Tunisian, there was a lot of Arabic music, and us being, Israeli, we're Middle Eastern. That's kind of like part of our soundscape. So that was there too. But my dad was a big rocker, and I think that those were kind of like my first influences. But in terms of like the guitarist or the singing guitarist, the inspirations that I've developed on my own, the things that I like, you kind of see, and you're like, oh shit, that's cool. Um, Honestly, I remember seeing La Bamba as a kid. And I really became a Richie Valens fan. Like that was kind of like the beginning of rock and roll, like
Yeah,
Elvis, right? Um,
basically.
Elvis spoke to me less than Richie Valens did, honestly. Buddy Holly speaks to me more than Elvis does, because like Elvis is the king, and I don't, I'm not like the best like fan of the king of the top. I see the top, I'm like, okay, that's the top. That's like what everyone listens to. I like things that are not they're good, but they're the underdog, and that's kind of like what it was for me. But then, as a teen, developing and kind of like learning guitar at 13 and becoming a metalhead, most of the guitarists that inspire me, I mean, you go through these guys like blues guys like, BB King, um, and all kinds of other blues guys like George Thorogood, also kind of like a blues rock guy, southern rock guy, you know. But when you get into metal, you see these guys. You see James Hetfield, and he's singing and he's playing guitar and he's good, right? Like the dude could shred,
Yep.
right? But he's not like the shredder. He's not the guy that does the solos on, in Metallica, but he is. But he is. A lot of the solos that from Metallica, it's like he wrote that shit. You know what I mean? It's funny. It's a phenomenon. It really is a phenomenon. But I just seeing that guy, seeing him in front of a microphone with a guitar on him is kind of like, that's an inspiration. James Hetfield is a huge, huge inspiration for me. And a lot of singing guitarists are, I model myself pretty much after them. Chuck Schuldiner. I
Yep.
mean, come on, that's a guy that growls,
He
right?
could
And
shred too. He was an amazing shredder too.
right. So great songwriter, shredder. He sings well too.
Yep.
He growls, and it's all fucking there. How can you look at that and not be inspired? How can anyone look at that? It doesn't matter if you're a musician or not, or you just like started learning guitar or thinking about learning guitar. You look at James Hetfield and Chuck Schuldiner, John from Dissection, right? It's another guy, right? Dave Mustaine, same. You, how can you look at that and not be inspired? So to me, those were the people, those were the posters on my wall when I was a teen, taken from Metal Hammer. I'd cut shit out of Metal Hammer, just put it on my wall.
Let's fast forward to Bereavement. Your first full length album with Consciously Dying. How was it like finally recording an album? I really like the production. Who produced this album?
So the album was produced by Adair Daufenbach. He's Brazilian. He's great. He's worked with bands like Megadeth, like Angra. He's worked with Kiko for Megadeth, Derek. I think he did an album for Grave, and countless, like hundreds of metal bands, like hundreds. Okay, like he's in LA. The dude's a big deal in Brazil. It's a big fucking deal. But then again, most people that migrate here for artistic reasons, right? They're all a big deal when they come from, right? Because it's taking it forward and moving here. Ade was he was a pleasure to work with. This is a person that is an endless inspiration. I mean, you just talk to this guy and you just want to make music. You want to write music. Man, the experience was amazing. I mean, being an artist, being an emotion-driven person, we tend to suffer, right? We tend to kind of like, put our emotions into our music. That's music. What music is as a definition. It's an expression of human emotion, right? And the ones that were negative were impactful. And I remember him saying something like, why do you have to suffer? And I go, because I create from pain. And he goes, yeah, but are you in pain now? I'm like, no, but this is my art. It comes from darkness and it comes from pain. And he goes, yeah, but you're not in pain now. We're just recording it. I'm like, yeah, but I'm tapping into the emotion. So he opened my mind to the idea that, okay, the music comes from suffering and it comes from pain and it comes from anger and it comes from a lot of shit feelings, right? And we express it in our art, but we shouldn't bring it into our music and not have it comes from art and music. We should bring it into our lives, because when we do it, our lives just become difficult, So it's that kind of balance, right? Our drummer at the time recorded the songs, like 9 songs, man, in 3 fucking days. Guy is a beast. He's a beast, a freaking monster. And after 3 days, it was just me, the guitarist, and the bass player at Adair's studio, tracking guitars and bass and vocals. And as much as, there were things that were emotional that were going on, there's all kinds of like obstacles, right? That dark side. I can tell you that it was a more positive experience than it was the last time I recorded a metal album, which was with Magor, right? Because that was a little different, because we weren't really together, all of us in a room. The drummer was gone, but then it was the Gene and Dennis and me in a studio recording. I wasn't alone. That was the deal, and that's a big part for me. That's a big part for me. I mean, look, I have my own studio at home. I can record my own shit, you know, but I haven't produced 300 metal bands like Hadari, so I don't have those tools, right? But just being there with your guys, that's what matters. So as much as I'm going through lineup changes right now with Consciously Dying, and I'm looking for the right people, I tell this to people that I talk to. I'm not looking for bandmates. I don't want bandmates. I don't. 100%. If you're looking to be a bandmate in my band, we're not a good fit. But if you're looking for family, if you're looking for friendship, if you're looking for someone that you can, go to Denny's at 2 a.m. after a show, if you're looking for someone that you can have a barbecue the day after a show, or just hang, or go on trips or whatever, and be a family, be friends and family, then I'm your guy. And we're looking for the same thing. But if you're, I mean, like, it's LA. People are just looking to do a gig, and a lot of people they want to get paid, right? And I get it. I'm a trained, experienced, professional, educated musician myself, right? But we're not doing weddings, are we? We're doing art, you know? So yeah, I think that solidifying a good lineup for now is one of the obstacles. There are there are lineup changes, but I also believe that the right people will come. We have Eddie on guitar, so Dennis moved back to Switzerland. There's a lot of stuff going on. Dennis moved back to Switzerland. Now we have Eddie Solanis on guitar. He came, so he's also a MI graduate like me. He came through another friend of ours, Sylvester Rojas. He moved back home, and they had a band called Forgotten Legion. Kick-ass band. They have great fucking music. Their singer is they're all good players, And luckily I got to snag one. And then we have Minor on drums. And our bass player is kind of in and out. So Nick was our kind of like sub fill-in guy. Then he was a member. Then now he's not much of a member, right? But he plays with a band called Our Dying World. Also really good, really good. Their drummer also plays for another band called Thrown into Exile, which is it's just so much talent out there. So right now we're shopping for a bass player, and it's not like anything can stop you. That's another thing that I'd like to say, even for other bands, nothing should stop you. If one of your players, God forbid, happens something, and they can't make it, shit, we could all fucking die tomorrow, but that doesn't mean you have to stop a show, right? Even if you have a tour lined up and you don't have a freaking drummer because your drummer got COVID or whatever, it's not supposed to stop you. Then get someone else. What matters is that stuff happens, that shit happens, and you make it happen, right? And that's basically it. I mean, I think that succeeding in this kind of, in the metal scene, I guess, or in art or music generally, or anything that's not like anything that's kind of more abstract in terms of like your choice, the only thing that really matters is that you don't quit. You don't even have to be good. Honestly, you don't have to be good. All you have to do is not quit. Pure and simple. You don't even have to work as hard. Like, do enough work to kind of like go where you want to go. Right? I'm not saying that, oh, you could just do no work. No, you have to do something. You have to do something. But everything that you do matters, no matter how small. You could say like, oh, people say these things. You have to be at the right place at the right time. Right? You've heard that
I've heard
line.
that before, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was just at the right place at the right time. Yeah, but you got out of your house and you went to that place. That's you. I just got lucky. There is no luck. There is no luck. You made a decision to leave your house and go to that party where you met that producer, and he was like, "Hey, you play. Let me hear you play." You made a connection. He checked you out. Now you're playing on his record. Yeah, you had to be good, but you also had to be there, right? So, it's another thing that I'm kind of learning. They say it's all who you know. They don't tell you that you have to keep knowing people.
Now, talk to me about the music videos that Constantly Dying has put out. There's some pretty awesome videos. Did you guys work with a cool director for these videos, music videos?
Well, the first one we did was Gasping for Air. And I produced and directed that one.
Wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah, thanks. I
Yeah.
had no idea I could. Honestly, I'm not a music producer, like music video producer. I'm not a director, but luckily I have good friends that gave me a lot of good advice. And I try to listen to them. I really try to take what they say to heart. And it made everything amazing. I was recruiting people left and right. Gasping for Air was an $800 budget video. I spent $850 shooting that video,
Wow.
but our production value was like over $20,000 because a friend of mine had the location and a friend of mine helped with like a dad from Alfie Trade gave us the space. He gave us a tub because he imports and exports farm sticks and faucets, and he had a tub he wasn't using. Casey and Orr from Nocturnal Designs, they do special effects makeup, right? They just did makeup for Kim Kardashian.
Wow.
It's nuts. Casey is freaking amazing, super professional, right? And out of the kindness of their heart, they helped me. I have good friends, right? Of course, I had to pay for the material, all that stuff. Of course, you want to feed people, you want to make them feel comfortable and appreciated and valued. They are artists themselves, right? The people that shot it, Noah and Mason and Connor, they're my freaking neighbors. Literally, they live here.
Wow.
Like I'd
Crazy.
open my door, their door's in front of me. And I was like, look, I know you guys shoot music videos. I've seen your portfolio. It's not that big. Would you want to shoot another video for your portfolio? I have a band. I have music. I can help you like expand your. We can help each other out. You know, I couldn't pay them, but I can at least get them breakfast and dinner and pizza and buy them a drink and appreciate them and value them. And I think that a lot of things in this business kind of like work that way, at least in the beginning. So that was Gasping for Air. The second video was for the first track on the album called Denial. Denial was shot in Riverside in a backyard. That one was produced by Dennis, our former guitarist, and Bergie, his friend. And that has also a production company. He shoots videos. He edits a lot of videos. That one was a little more difficult, because we were outside, so it was up to the elements, but we got it done, and it looks cool, it looks great, and that was less of my production, so I got to kind of like take a rest and participate, but not kind of run things, which was nice, but yeah, those are the two music videos that we have out. We might be shooting another one for Bereavement. I mean, Bereavement came out in June, no, July 1st. Sorry, July 1st this year. That's when the album came out. The next album is gonna come out next year, right? Hopefully, if we're going like year by year, probably July, right? Which gives us a lot of time to record it, to write it, to get it done, But I think that things are going to be way easier because when you find the right people to do things, then you know where to go. You just know where to go. You know who to work with, and I'm definitely working with Hadari again. You know who to work with, and you know who not to work with, right? Definitely working with Hadari again was a great experience. the guy definitely knows how to record and produce and mix and master, and it was great. It was great. Um, but yeah, same with the artwork, man. Like, Dylan Samuelson did the artwork. We've already gotten two pieces from him. So We All Die was one of the graphics, one of the t-shirt graphics. I don't have the original piece because he sold it, but I bought the rights to it. So we made it. We made it as a single cover for We All Die, the single. We made t-shirts, right? We made all kinds of stuff. And then Bereavement was his own commission, right? So I commissioned him an art piece. And I dig his stuff. I dig the way he works, like things arrived on time. He was very involving. He was, he made these skits and shared them with me, and like we had a back and forth, so that relationship really kind of shows you, okay, I want to work with this person again. He's fun and he's professional, and we help out each other. We both give each other something. Yeah, I mean, I could tell you that we recorded COVID-19. The first single, right, with EP came out in 2018. COVID was 2020, right? So we had something out 2018, 19, and 2020. We came out with COVID. I'm not gonna name the studio, but that's not like, there are certain things that I didn't like there. Probably not gonna record them again. But you only need to find that one person. That
All it
one
takes.
person that, yeah, you have to find your own, like your own Steven Wilson, your own Bob Rock, your own guy, right? And it's kind of like, okay, you can go to Bob Rock, but Bob Rock is Bob Rock. He's like gonna cost you a shit ton of money. You can't afford that shit. You're a band starting to get out there. You gotta find your own version of him, right? A younger version, a version you can afford. So that's what I'm trying to do, and yeah, it's great.
Any shows coming up that you could promote for the audience?
So we are pressing vinyl. I literally have the test press right as one of them. So this isn't the album yet, right? This is a test press
Wow.
for the vinyl. So you get 5 of these and you listen to them. And if they're okay, you tell the record company, okay, go ahead and print a bunch of them. See? Look at that.
Wow. That's cool, man.
And so the record hopefully will come out February. So we're going to be setting up a show probably end of February, beginning of March. It's definitely going to be in Hollywood. I don't have all the details. It's going to be produced by Daniel Dismal from Church of the Eighth Day. We're very happy to work with him. He's an awesome, awesome dude. Really fun to work with. Very down to earth. He's very respected and admired and revered in the metal scene. And it's really cool to see the influence that he has on people and how people, approach him and talk to him and talk about him. It's really cool. And that's one of the people that I can say, yeah, I definitely see myself working with him for a long period of time. So not only producing that event, but yeah, TBD.
All right. I want to thank you, Aviv, for coming on the show. It was great talking to you.
You too, man.
All right.
God bless.
Stay heavy, everybody.
You too.